All right, so if I've got some Dayglow yellow Crocs on and ink pens out, you know it's time to talk about something. I decided I'm going to talk about my Montblanc 221. It is an oblique double broad, and I'm a lefty, so it just doesn't agree with me, which means I'll talk about it some. I'll do a writing sample so you can see what I was talking about. I'm actually going to con my wife into doing a quick writing sample also so that you can see it's just lefties that are going to have this issue. And then this is going to be one of the next ones to go. So one of my favorite things is when somebody decides they're not going to do a whole lot of production value in their videos. That's me, by the way. I decided I'm just not going to go absolutely gung-ho crazy anymore. I've done that in the past on some of my videos, but this crazy glare is just not really good. I'm sure this crinkling is not great for your ears, and I apologize for that, but I got to do something just so that we're not going to have that obnoxious glare. So here are some features about this pen that we're talking about here, the 221. First off, it is a snap cap. It is not threaded. On the snap cap, one of the things that distinguishes this from some of the other 22, 21, 220 models that are out there are things like these three. Let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit. You can see these three little prongs right here that are part of the retention system. And you can see inside there's the ridge that they click onto. You can see down inside. You can see down inside there really well. It has got a decent product that is used basically to stop the nib from drying out. It's kind of like a little escutcheon cup inside of there that the nib is housed inside of. It is a semi-hooded nib. I wouldn't call this fully hooded, but it also is nowhere near the beauty of any of the Meisterstück line. It does have the snowflake on both sides. So I've heard a million different renditions of what this snowflake is all about, but it doesn't take much. You can go right to Montblanc's emails or web page, and they talk about this. It is an homage to the 6 glaciers that come off of Montblanc, and that's why it's got the snow cap and the 6 points. Either which way, so let's also do this here. You can take a look. You can see the stamping on it right there. I'm trying to get better. There you go. Okay, so you can see the 585. It's the quality of the gold that it is. You can also see, if I get a decent job, there you go. You can see that bad boy is easily a double broad. It's really nice. You can see the feed on the back side is a smooth feed, and it's a slide-on style nib, and it's an oblique cut. So let's see, if I were to put this in a straight line, up against a straight line, yeah, there you go. You can actually see that it is offset some. It's perfect, as I was saying before, for a right-handed person, but as a lefty, it is not great. There is a clear section that the barrel threads onto. I know there's another version of this pen out there, another model. It might be the 220 where it has a clear relief so you can actually see the ink through it. This just has a standard international converter inside of it. It's not the Montblanc converter that was available for this, because of course most people used cartridges at the time that this came out dozens of years ago. You can see in comparison to a standard Meisterstück, the translucence is nowhere near. Yeah, it's got some translucence, but it is nowhere near like the translucence on a Meisterstück. So that's a very bright light shining right into it. And I'll give you an example of what I mean when I talk about that. So let's grab a standard Maestro stick here and put the light behind it. You can see the translucence of the precious resin that this is versus this barrel body. Nowhere near as much translucence, just not the same caliber of resin. So, I mean, it's again a 2 series versus a 1 series pen, and you should not expect it to be nearly as good. But as far as construction is concerned, it is a very nice clip that these things have. The construction is very nice. The fit and finish is actually really good in comparison to some other cheap pens out there. And it's kind of funny, like, yeah, this is not a cheap pen for most people in any way, shape, or form. But for a Montblanc, this is a less expensive pen. The engravings on it are still utmost really, really very, very good. You can still see the Germany inside there. They're great pens. This thing is a really nice pen, and this would have definitely been staying if it was not for the fact that it writes terrible for me. So let's go ahead and show you what I mean. I'm not going to try and influence this at all. I'm just going to write the way I normally would. That right there says it all. That is something that just drove me nuts over and over and over again. You can see I'm trying to push up. Upstroke is really horrible. I'm just going to keep going, and you'll see the skips that it has where it has them. That's because I'm a lefty, and because the nib is cut to be sitting on paper like this instead of like this. So I'm working against the bottom of the nib, and the capillary action that should be happening, I'm negating it. Essentially, you know, the bottom of the nib should have a shape that goes something like this, and the ink is filling up the center of this W right here, and it should basically sit inside of there. I'll fill it up with blue, and it should just sit inside like that with that blue. And when the nib touches the paper, it should pull off of the nib onto the paper. And because I'm in essence holding it tilted like this, all that's touching is this spot right here for me. Whereas a right-handed person, it's cut perfectly so that it touches for them exceptionally nice. And because it is a nice double broad, that is going to give a great architecture to your letters as you write with it. It's just not for me. I'm going to go ahead and talk my wife into sitting down here and doing just the word thank you. And you can see when she writes with it what it looks like, and then we'll go from there. So this is what it looks like when a right-handed person writes with the pen. You can see it's very, very juicy. It is exceptionally beautiful. It has 0 skips. It has 0 problems no matter which way she's pushing with the pen. She has nowhere near the same problems that I've got. But again, it is cut for a right-handed person, and it just does the job perfectly for her. It does the job horribly for me. So that's one of the reasons this has to go. I think I've talked about all the features, especially if you're somebody that's out there is trying to verify what yours is as far as authenticity. First off, they're not out there trying to make a bunch of fake ones of this pen. That much is not happening. But if you're looking for some features and you want to know, like, hey, how realistic is it of mine? You're looking for the stamp inside of the nib right here, and you're looking for things like the 3 retention clips. That's the style that it should have. You're looking for a quality plastic that's inside of here threading. It doesn't matter whether or not it's a cartridge or if it's got a converter inside of it. You are looking to see that both the top and bottom should have a finial, a Montblanc finial. And by the way, I have seen somebody try and say, oh, it just fell out. These aren't falling out. Again, I'm pretty sure I showed you earlier, but that's riveted on. That's not going anywhere. It's part of the vacuum seal to make sure this thing doesn't dry out. That's not going anywhere. This should have both of those. I couldn't imagine it going anywhere on you. But we also talked about the inscription. You know, you can ask for close-ups of the actual inscription on yours to make sure, you know, that's what it should look like. It's that high quality, it's that small, and it goes pretty much most of the way around. There's information. There's a dead spot from about here to here. It's not much. The rest of it has got something on it, you know, Montblanc, Germany. Oh, that's actually all it says, Montblanc of Germany. Yeah. So that's what you should be seeing in it. I'm actually intrigued that it doesn't say West Germany. Blanc. Nope, I don't see a W inside of there whatsoever. But either which way, that should be everything that you need to see. If you've got any further questions about it, just hit me up. We'll talk about that. And on that note, I guess it's time for the Yellow Crocs to sign their way out of the day. Yellow Crocs out. So some other things that you probably would want to know if you were looking to buy one of these and you're trying to decide like, hey, as a first pen, it's a lot less expensive. What am I getting? What's the difference here? Well, here's a lineup to give you some semblance of what is your money getting you. Just some size characteristic and difference. This is what I would actually really want to know. If you've got a Pilot, if you've got a Pelican, or if you have none of the above, something I'm sure that you would have. Oh yeah, everybody's got a Sharpie, including me. I know I've got a Sharpie sitting right here. So there's a Sharpie in comparison. I would say that the barrel is a little bit smaller than a Sharpie, but not by a ton, and the length is almost identical. So that gives you a somewhat girth. If you're trying to figure out what would it feel like, it's pretty much like holding a Sharpie. That's pretty close. Maybe the tiniest bit thinner, but it's going to be ever so thicker. And I'm talking about tiny amounts, minuteness, thicker than the classic. So here's a classic size Meisterstück. Here is the 221. Here is a Legrand. Here is a Pilot. This is the Pilot Custom 912. And here is a Pelican M800. That should give you some picture as far as the difference. Here's even another Montblanc that's a very, very thin style, about the size of a cross. So maybe that's something that somebody had out there was a cross and they want to get a picture. That's definitely significantly more girth than a cross. Those are the items I would want to know.